We need a space to play. We need Croke Parks for the imagination in Dublin as well as for football and sport. My name is Willie White. I'm the Artistic Director of Dublin Theatre Festival. Dublin Theatre Festival takes place each year, starting the last Thursday in September and running for 2.5 weeks. The festival is a celebration of theatre and performance in general. It's about 50-50 between new Irish work premiering at the festival and then international productions that we invite to Dublin. Preparations are already very much underway for this year's festival, which starts on the 26th of September. There's a lot of planning that goes into a festival, even for something that just takes place over 2.5 weeks. The programme is a mixture between work that we invite, present, pay for basically, and then the work of our partners like the Abbey Theatre or the Gate Theatre and suburban venues in Dublin. Some productions we present and other ones we host. The festival is really a very important platform to showcase Irish theatre to the world. If we're going to have a festival, if we're going to bring people together, I think it's important to look at the kind of stories that we're telling. It's important to support artists. I mean, our involvement doesn't just start when the show is on in the festival. It's usually the culmination of a conversation that can be going over for years, in fact. So we support artists when they're making their funding application. Also, Culture Ireland, the Theatre Institute bring international presenters to Dublin during the festival with a view to the artists pursuing touring opportunities internationally. We have the great advantage of theatre being a great medium for communication, of addressing an audience, and we try not to be preachy about it, but in recent years we're seeing more artists making work on the topic of sustainability and climate. But also, like, a city and a community needs to sustain itself by having opportunities to gather. We've become very alienated from each other during the pandemic. People sat at home and mediated their worlds through a screen. So I really felt strongly after the pandemic and after those years of disruption, it was very important to get people back together, back in a room together, to be more sociable. Those kind of gatherings that a community in a city is built from. The arts is very important, but one of the real challenges, particularly for younger artists, is actually continuing to live in Dublin because they can't find somewhere to live. So if we're thinking about the kind of city we'd like Dublin to be, or the kind of community and country we'd like Ireland to be into the future, all kinds of people, not just artists, not especially artists, but young people, have to be able to live in the city. Otherwise, it's going to become desolate. Culture is a very important way to invite people into the city centre, to make the city centre lively, enjoyable, safe. But there are other foundations that need to be in place too, like housing. The story of Dublin, certainly in the last 20 years, has been spaces closing rather than spaces opening. We're in Temple Bar, which is the last significant investment in cultural infrastructure in Dublin city centre, which dates back to the 90s. Temple Bar has already celebrated its 30th anniversary, and in that time, lots of ramshackle spaces that were improvised for culture have been sold, demolished, and turned into offices, hotels, expensive apartments. The city needs all kinds of things, but something that I feel Dublin is really lacking in is up-to-date cultural infrastructure, places for people to make work, to show work, to gather. That's what we all want. We all want to live happy lives, to share them with our friends and with our family, for the city to be livable, for the air to be breathable, and for there to be something to do when you knock off work or whatever else you're doing. So culture gives cities life, and cities are sustainable if we invest in culture. It's not just about the money, which has increased in recent years, the funding of culture, but what we really need, what we sorely lack, and what will take longer to deliver is the physical infrastructure to make Dublin a flourishing capital city. Culture can't compete in the free market, so somebody has to take an enlightened decision and say, okay, maybe this doesn't make as much money for whomever as whatever kind of building, but this enriches the city in a different way. We're going to say, here is an art centre, here is a theatre, here is somewhere for people to dance at night. Ironically, investment in culture nourishes the free market by developing talent. There are challenges everywhere. Sometimes when we're dealing with problems in Ireland, we think we're uniquely bad or suffer uniquely. No, look at a city very close to us like Manchester, which is, the population of the Greater Manchester area is a multiple of the population of Dublin. But they are really serious about investing significantly in culture because they want to boost the international image of their city and they want to boost its image in the UK. There are different versions of those challenges everywhere because capital is the world over. There is wealth in this country, and if we want our country, our city, to be sustained into the future, I think it makes sense to invest in culture. I live near Dublin city centre. A lot has gone on in the city centre recently. A lot has not gone on for some years, and the city is still recovering from that. But I think the more people who come into Dublin, the more people who come into the city centre to shop, to spend their leisure time, to meet their friends, to see what's going on, I think that will create a virtuous circle where the whole city will benefit.